Welcome, everyone, to the Social Cafe bonus chat monetization options for content creators with Miss Ileane. Yay!
Yay! It's such a good topic and conversation for us to have, Deborah. So, and there's Martin. Hi, Martin.
Oh, I was like, hey, Martin, say hello, but it helps if we, if we actually hand him the mic. You know what? Let's get going and I will, invite him to speak. But you know what? I need to say thank you, Miss Ileane, because you picked this topic. So, thank you for choosing this topic.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
And you know what? This is not a topic where I'm an expert, so I'm like at your feet, kind of like gazing up, and I'm just ready to take it take it all in and learn so much from you.
Oh, great. Well, here's the thing. I think that there are so many different options for us as content creators now that I can't even really say that I'm an expert, but I do have a lot of information about various platforms, a lot more on some platforms than others. So I will try to go in deeper on the ones that I do have firsthand experience with. And actually, I really wanted to mention that, well, thank you. Thank you. Oh, and
Well,
Lisa's here. So let me let everybody say hi. Hey, Martin.
Hi
oops.
Eileen, hi Deborah, hi Lisa.
Oh, good. Hello. I was like, I'm trying to get the mic to you, Martin. I'm like, oh, good, you have it.
Yeah, I gave it to him already. That was the beauty of me being a co-host, and thank you for
Uh, Excellent.
co-host. I feel
Thank
like
you.
I got a raise.
Thank you so much. I was like, that's why that didn't. I couldn't find the little. Okay, you know what? Deb's gonna find her brain cells and actually activate them now. Okay, thank you. And hi, Lisa.
Lisa, let us know if you want to grab the mic and chime in with your feedback as well. Oh, there it is. I'll get it.
Thank you, Miss
Uh,
Celine. Oh, and by the way, I just set up my what is it? Buy me a coffee. I just did that in the middle. That's part of the reason my brain cells are offline because I was up all night setting up these different sites, the Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee. So,
ah,
um,
yeah. And so, Lisa, hello.
Hi, Eileen. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I
oh
can.
yeah,
Great. I'm on my
Did it
desktop.
start
I'm
snowing
listening
there
while
yet?
I'm doing some scheduling. I was like, oh, I got to jump on. I'm in the work mode at 3 o'clock today.
Did it start snowing there yet where you are?
Not yet. And actually, we're not going to get that much being so north. Where we used to live is going to get all the snow. It's kind of ironic because we moved north to go snowmobiling and there's no snow.
Well, yeah, it's funny because it hasn't snowed here in over a year, but it's snowing now. I don't know that it's going to stick, but I think it's heading your way. I don't think it's going to stick around too long
Yeah,
here in my area.
we'll see.
So what I was going to say is I think it's a because I am someone who subscribes to people's memberships and supports creators that way. And also because I have a subscription in place that I have some experience with, I thought that it would be great if we could look at this from both sides because it's super important. You set up a subscription, and if nobody subscribes, it's like, wah, wah, wah. And in fact, that is the case for me here on Twitter.
I need to subscribe so that you. Although I love your sound effects, but I want I want to subscribe so that you have a subscriber.
And someone asked me one time, well, do you promote it? And it's like, not really, but it's just, and it's okay. It's okay that I don't. It's just, I just want people to have that in their minds. Like, okay, what happens if nobody subscribes? Don't get discouraged because people have to feel comfortable with the platform. And that's one of the things that, like my first topic that I have here in my notes, is the considerations before you start offering a membership or subscription. And I'll use those terms interchangeably, right?
That's great.
So,
Oh, hey, Miss Ileane,
yes.
can I ask you so? And I don't mean to really abruptly change the subject, and then let's come right back. But how about when repost this? I'm going to actually put it out as an actual podcast. Okay, I don't want to promise, just in case I don't. But
Yeah.
what about links to, like, for instance, obviously the links that you're mentioning. But for example, if anyone joins us and they want to mention their Patreon page or whatever, I don't mind putting them in a post, for instance, on my blog. Uh, how does that sound?
Oh, that sounds fantastic. I was
Okay.
actually going to ask you something similar, as far as, this can also go up on YouTube as I guess I like that idea.
Cool. All right. So
E-
yeah,
Either that or you just had gas. No.
not me. So, but yeah, if anyone's listening and wants to, as long as you're participating in this with us, go ahead and DM me and send me the link.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, and so the considerations before you as a content creator think about offering memberships or subscriptions. And like I said, I'll use those terms interchangeably, right? So I won't have to say them both. Here's some of the things that I've thought about, and you let me know if I missed anything. Uh, are you going to offer some type of exclusive content for your subscribers? Because you don't have to. But if you are, what's the format going to be? Is it going to be audio or video, text, graphics, a newsletter, like maybe something else, and are you going to offer tiers? Are you going to say, look, if you come in at this dollar amount, you get this, and it could just be a shout out, or whatever. These are the things that you have to have in mind before you set up. Like you said, Deborah, you spent time setting up your pages, because those are the questions that you got to answer before you actually go through the process of setting up. And you mentioned buy me a coffee, but Patreon's the same way. YouTube also is that way. Um, and some of the other options that I have written down here, I'm not sure about their process, but you definitely need to think about what you're going to offer, if anything, because you can just say, hey, subscribe, and I'm not offering you anything. I've had people, I've subscribed to a few creators who didn't have any perks or special. They just, you're supporting their work. And if once you decide what kind of format that you're going to put that exclusive content in, let's say you've decided, yes, I'm going to offer exclusive content. So now what's the delivery method of that content? Because every platform doesn't have the same delivery methods.
Good
And I'll,
point.
I'll get into more. I saw you unmute, Deb. So
Oh, sorry. I was just
no, no,
thinking.
no.
Yeah, good point. Good point. I should have just given a thumbs up, but yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah. Okay. So let me be more. I'm going to be more specific. I have a Patreon page. Okay. And there has been challenges with the Patreon, with the subscriptions, with the delivery of exclusive content. I've offered my patrons exclusive content. And as Patreon has grown, they have added additional features, but they're at some point, the only way for me to really communicate with my patrons was I had to find a platform. So I decided to use Facebook, a private Facebook or secret Facebook group. But that's a problem because everybody ain't on Facebook. So you have, and I had tiers set up, and someone signed up for the highest tier, which was $25 a month, but they're not on Facebook. And so, it's like, how am I supposed to deliver them any content? How can I retain them as a subscriber if they're not on the platform where I'm going to be delivering this content? So that's just one of the challenges that I wanted to mention that I personally encountered with using Patreon. Any thoughts on that, Deborah or Lisa or Martin? Oh, and hello. Oh, I'm sorry. Tempt Forex is here. Hi, how are you?
Yes, welcome to our listener here. And that is a challenge. You mentioned Facebook. A friend of ours. Well, I'll just say his name. If you know him, then you know who I'm talking about. And if you don't, I'm not mentioning last name. But Tom, cannot stand Facebook, and that presents a problem because I'm always trying to arrange things because he's such a great supporter. So I don't want to create like a secret Facebook group where he can't join us because he's like one of my main supporters, if you will, and then he can't be there. So it's like, yeah, it's hard to if you're having someone contribute monetarily and then they don't want to be in this particular group. That is a challenge. You have to know who's where and what.
Yeah, and I want to say welcome to FOMO listener and
Oh,
Charlology. I'm sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly, but thanks so much for joining.
yes,
And
welcome.
yeah, we do have the messages open there if you wanted to type in a question. If you have questions, I think there was a question that did come in. Yeah, we might have to do some moderation there on those. So, oh no, that's an ad. My bad. I applied, but still not available to me. Any ideas why? And that's from Lisa. And Lisa, I'm not sure what you meant. Perhaps you meant Twitter?
Yes, I applied to be able to offer that on Twitter, and it's still pending. And I don't know if maybe because I didn't use my Stripe account with it, but I didn't.
That
As the subscription? Is that what
Yeah.
you're
Yep.
offering subscriptions? I have the same thing. I applied in June, I think it was. Is that what, Miss Ileane, is that when I think we were
no,
talking about it? Yeah.
I I actually was had the memberships way before the transition. So whatever experience that I had would be totally different from what you guys went
Okay.
through because I did it so long ago.
I was thinking of actually
And
contacting them because it took a while for them to respond. I changed my photo and it caused a big ruckus, like with my account on Twitter and X, I guess I should say. And I contacted by direct message, and they actually did get back to me and they took care of it. So I was impressed. It's the first time I've had any kind of contact.
good.
Wow, applaud.
Yeah. And the subscriptions may the Twitter subscriptions may still be something that they are like have on a back burner because as we all know, there's really skeleton staff, so to speak. So they used to have a community here on Twitter and it probably still exists, but nobody was answering any of the questions that were coming up. And so I left months and months ago because it was just not being manned, and then there was people were just spamming the community. So I don't even know if anybody's on the helm of
Was that before Elon Musk took over, or was that,
the
yeah,
community existed before he took over,
okay.
but it went downhill after. And I don't think it's because he took over. Just think it's because the staff. There was nobody
Stephen.
She fired everybody. So
Economy.
Right.
I mean, they are
Right.
in a way have a hard time economically. But I would say, Martin here, I would say I'm waiting. It's good that you're testing out all these features, but even Elon Musk had this his own subscription, and I saw some time ago, and he had not many followers at all. And I think when he's gearing into this, as I wrote as a comment, as a tweet or a post, as X language, this donation, pay what you want, value for value, name your price. So if I could in the future, depending on which so-called crypto coin or whatever he chose, hopefully not Dogecoin, but if he chose a correct one, like a Bitcoin, I could send a small amount to a creator. And if I could use that as a subscription model or pay as a wish, as an extra alternative, I would be really happy with that. Because isn't that now on Patreon that you could send like one-time amount or something like that also? And I think Buy Me a Coffee and Coffee and others have that service also.
Although, you're talking like something like the Satoshi idea
Yeah,
kind of
like
thing?
because
Yeah.
it is
But
now linked in your profile that you could send an
right. But
support or donation or for some creation.
right. But before we get too far off on the
Yeah,
question that Lisa had as far as the subscription, Lisa, I'm glad that you brought that up as far as the
yeah,
subscriptions on Twitter. Um, and I'll put that in the kind of the show notes from today because I think it would be interesting if a bunch of us that are waiting in that pending kind of
yeah,
compared notes, if you will, because I didn't have any changes on my profile at all, any updates or anything to see what's slowing this up. Is it just a time factor that we're waiting for, and how long have we been waiting? How many months or years or whatever for
yeah,
approval? Because
yeah,
mine has gone on for like 6 months, I think it
yeah,
is 7
and that
months that I'm waiting for an approval, and I've
yeah,
gone through all of the check boxes as far as the subscription. So but let's get
yeah.
back to Miss Ileane's outline as far as what you're going through, so we make sure we cover everything that she has.
yeah, and just to finish up on that topic, I really do think that it has to do with the timing. The timing that you requested the subscriptions was the transition period, and I don't think that they have hired the staff to take over from where prior staff left off. So that's just my
That's what I was thinking too.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's my. But also remember, and Martin kind of alluded to it, that you can turn on the tip jar. So, I don't think there's any approval needed for that. I have the tip jar turned on. I can't say that I've ever gotten any tips. I don't know. I may have gotten a tip when it first was launched. But you just have to remind people that you have the tip jar there. And
Yeah. And
Yep.
Eileen, I think I tested it and sent some tips and so on, and because I think it's on the web. I'm not sure you could see it, but on the phone or mobile, you could see this dollar icon symbol. So it's not so easy to find in a way, and you have to remind. So, but it will be interesting to see in the future because I really think he will push for that in the long run, because his fascination with the letter X and his former experience and work. So I think that's what will be in the cards in the future.
you guys also hit on something that's the next thing on my little outline here, and that was, how will the payments be processed? So, for example, is it going to be Stripe or PayPal, or, depending on the platform, if it's YouTube, then it just goes through YouTube. A podcast subscription, that could be on Apple Podcasts, or it could be Spotify, or um, a lot of people like to use a site called Notion. And they have these Notion templates, or they sell some kind of a checklist or some kind of a guide, and they use Notion. I don't know if any of you all have ever uh, acquired a Notion template or seen anybody offering those. Uh, have you seen that at all, Deb?
I've played with it a little bit, but I haven't utilized it only because if I utilized everything, I'd end up having a minus 48 hours a day.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
I played with it enough to see that it's a really interesting tool. Oh, by the way, Stripe, Lisa, I did utilize Stripe right away as far as hooking up everything for subscriptions. So that wouldn't likely be the problem that you're having as far as Twitter and subscriptions. Sorry, just back to the other topic and then forward
Thank
again.
you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, because actually, when I first turned on the Twitter tip jar, it was accepting PayPal because that was a big deal that it was asking for your address when you would give someone a tip. But it turns out that that was not the case because I kind of freaked out myself. And I'm like, that person doesn't need my address. I'm giving them a tip. And it's really like a default setting of the PayPal interface. You just have to change it and say, no, address not needed. And so I had posted screenshots to show people how to do that. But soon after that, they got rid of PayPal. And this was pre-Elon days. So, there's been some things that have gone on. And Stripe, the reason that Stripe is so interesting is because, in addition to what I just mentioned about Twitter, Buy Me a Coffee had problems with PayPal. And I don't know what the problems were. They were not really transparent about what the actual problem was, but they switched to Stripe. So now Stripe kind of seems to be like the go to for some of these platforms. Now, with Patreon, you can use either. I use PayPal. I get my money through PayPal. And, like Martin is somebody who I support over on Patreon, and I use PayPal. But yeah, there's issues, and I can't say it's a transaction fees because Stripe charges transaction fees as well. So I don't know what the underlying issue is there, but all I'm saying is, like I said, this is one of the things that's on my checklist and on my outline. These are things you have to consider. With your audience, what do they feel comfortable with?
Yeah.
Welcome, Carla. I want to say welcome to my friend Carla. Hey, how you doing? Let us know.
Oh,
Grab the
hey
mic.
there.
And so yeah, there I don't know why there's this like pull and tug with PayPal versus Stripe, but that is something that you need to consider if, once you start setting up your membership. Are you going to are people going to be able to use PayPal or Stripe, or in the case of YouTube, they wouldn't use either PayPal or Stripe, but they would just pay through their credit card. So, yeah, all right. I'm going to move on to my next thing. Now, when I talked about the exclusive content and, you know, about all the different formats, it could be audio, video, blah, 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 right? Even live streams. But does that platform that you want to use, does it support the delivery of the content that you want to provide? So, on live streams is a perfect example. Not many of these platforms give you the ability to live stream. You have to use a third party app. Maybe you could use a Discord app, or you could connect StreamYard and use their webinar platforms, or use Zoom. But then you have to pay StreamYard, or you have to pay Zoom. So the only platform that I'm aware of at this current moment that has it built in and it's not an additional cost is YouTube. So now that is another consideration, because for someone like me, and remember, I'm looking at this from both sides. I'm looking at this from the point of being a subscriber as well as wanting to have subscribers. But as a subscriber, the content that I want to consume is YouTube content. I love consuming live streams. I love consuming videos. And you can post text and everything over on your community tab and make that members only as well. But most of these other platforms, like for example, Patreon, and it's kind of always been a pet peeve of mine with Patreon, you can't live stream on Patreon. You have to use YouTube or an expensive platform that they have an integration with that's called Crowdcast. And Crowdcast is great, don't get me wrong, but it's expensive. Like when you're starting out your Patreon and you only have like 4 subscribers, you're not going to be able to afford Crowdcast. So something that you have to consider. And a lot of one of the other things that I wanted to mention, you see this a lot in we have a friend, Ann Smarty. She has a Substack. So this is another way that people are delivering exclusive content, because with Substack, you're delivering a newsletter and you may put some teaser content out there for everybody who subscribes, but then you save those super, super special content for the people that pay. Well, and don't get me wrong, I love Ann Smarty, and there's a whole bunch of folks that use Substack. Okay, I'm not picking on Ann at all, but I don't feel like reading a bunch of stuff. Give me a live stream, give me a video. That's my flavor that I like to consume content in. So there's no way, like, I don't subscribe to anybody who has a Substack. And I know tons of people, and they're great. Their content's great. Don't get me wrong. That's just not my thing. YouTube, on the other hand, I think I subscribe to close to 10, maybe 9 or 10 people on YouTube, because that's how I like to consume content, as video.
That makes sense.
So
You're a live streamer, and then
yeah, what's your favorite, Deb? Are you subscribed to anyone's membership?
I'd have to say that I lean towards the live streaming. I've got 2 televisions as my monitors. I mean, I have the big screen, so they're on, like, 2 separate desks, so I've got one going while I'm working at the other one, so I tend to I have to multitask. So
Sorry, excuse me, Deb. Say hi to Amy. Hi, Amy. How are you? Thanks for joining us.
oh,
I'm sorry.
yes, hey. Yeah, hi, Amy. I saw her pop in, but I didn't wanna didn't wanna interrupt, and I'm so
Yeah,
sorry as we got going.
we always have to interrupt each other when new folks come in, because we don't want them to think that we're ignoring them because they
Good
run away.
point.
So, so yeah, so someone else added, I applied, but still not okay. I'm sorry. I'm reading everyone's comments. uh, I, mention Substack has now a podcast audio content feature. Yes, and that's great. Substack, you're right. They do have the podcast feature, Martin, and I forgot about that. But like I said, I give me your video. I do subscribe to some podcasts, but I'm probably not going to pay to subscribe to any. So, okay. So here's what people have to do. And here's what a challenge that anyone who's thinking about starting one of these memberships may have. When you think about how you're going to deliver the content, one of the things that people are using, and I mentioned StreamYards, they have that on air, which is a webinar. Then a lot of people use Zoom, and that's great if you're already using Zoom. Like you may already have Zoom, a paid Zoom subscription for whatever reason. And so that's just another add on. But then also, I don't want to forget to mention Discord as one of the ways that people are delivering their content. And Discord has all kinds of chats. In fact, I was in a Discord chat about an hour before we started this space, and it's audio, video, and they are releasing something new called the stage. And they Discord always has something new going on. But to be honest, I have asked my patrons on Patreon would they want Discord, and hands down the answer is no.
Wow, not just a no, but I mean really an intense
No,
no.
no way. So, and I I'm kind of relieved myself because I find Discord slightly annoying. I will go in for certain things, but I try to get in and get out of there as fast as I can.
I'm not
What's
familiar with it. It seems like I hear like kind of a love-hate, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Now here's another one. Here's another deliver content delivery, or not just actually a content delivery, a communication tool. I subscribe to my friend Michael Daniels, Tinkering with Tech. Absolutely love him. He has some of the most amazing content. He does a tip every day, every weekday, and he's been doing this for years. He didn't just start doing this. So every Monday through Friday, you get a tip from Michael. And it seems like he never runs out of tips. And but it's on Zoom, but he also live streams it to YouTube. Now Michael has gone through a few different iterations of his membership, and originally he didn't do it this way, but he found that doing it on YouTube was the easiest way. But when he wants to communicate, or for us to communicate with one another besides the Zooms, he uses Google Chat. He's the only person that I know that uses Google Chat. Well, him and all the other members,
Wow. Okay,
because
you
we
know what? I'm gonna practice interrupting you. I can't stand interrupting people. But welcome to X Space. Um,
Miss Arnhem, honey, I'm not sure how you pronounce that name, but welcome, welcome.
say we welcome you nonetheless. All are
Yeah, and
welcome.
so it's so interesting because how Google Chat works is inside of Gmail, and you'll see another like little tab at the bottom of your Gmail, and you can see the groups, because actually I'm in two of his groups because I'm in a higher tier of membership. And so the higher tier, we can all communicate with one another. But in the lower tier, it's just for his announcements to say, hey, I'm getting ready to do the tip, because he can't do it at the same time every day because life, right? So it's usually around the same time, but he'll come in and make the announcement, I'm getting ready to do the tip, I'm getting ready to do the tip. And it's like brilliant. But how many people are willing to actually use Google Chat? Now, all his people are, and he knows, because actually I met him on Google Plus, and most of the folks that are in there are ones that I know from Google Plus. I like they're Google people. So that's great. And this is what's super important for all of us who are considering this. We have to think, like, where do our people hang out? What are our people familiar with and willing to use? Like, I could post on Patreon. I gave up. I've given up posting on Patreon because maybe one person, and give my friend Barb Tomlin a shout out, Barb T USA. She may be the only person to come over there and leave a comment. And it's like, on the Facebook group, I do get more interactions, but then, like I said, there's some people that they're just not going to use Facebook, but they're definitely not going to use the Patreon app. They might go to the website, maybe. But it's
So
just,
so that kinda
and
goes to
I know
deciding
that
what you
there are
wanna do
lots of
before.
folks who have Patreon pages, who have active communities there. They have a chat now, and you can use their app and all that stuff. But for me and my audience, it's just it's been a challenge, a real challenge to get people to come over to Patreon, because it's not a place they normally hang out. And so it's hard for me to be consistent, for them to even think, oh, let me see if she posted something on Patreon this week. No, it's, to me, it's easier. Just check the Facebook group. For the one or two people that just aren't on Facebook, I don't know what to do. I'm at my wit's end. So just like I said, have to give you guys from both sides of the spectrum, from being a subscriber as well as from wanting to have subscribers.
So
So
you really
so
have
what do
to
you
figure
think? Does
out
anybody else use Google Chat or
you kinda have to figure out your
Patreon?
flow, don't you? Before you decide, you have to kinda, and that's what you were saying at the beginning, is figure out what you want before
Deborah, I
you
don't hear anything. It doesn't look like you're muted, but I don't hear a peep.
Oop.
Okay, well, I'm going to move on, because I'm going to. Oh, now it looks like you're muted and unmuted. Okay, I'll just move on.
Can you hear me now?
All right, so let's just talk a little bit about the fees. And I only have the fees listed here for Patreon, and they actually increased their fee about 2 or 3 years ago. And for setting up a Patreon page is free. Okay, let's just be clear about that. But once you start getting patrons, Patreon is going to take 8% from the pro users. They have two levels now, and 12% from the premium users. And the benefits of premium users is that you can have team accounts. So, this is for groups that are really active, right? So you can assign someone as a team member to go in there, respond to comments or posts, or whatever the team members can do. I'm not at that level. And also you can have merch on the Patreon um, premium plan, but that's 12%. Now, by contrast, Buy Me a Coffee charges a 5% processing fee. Okay, so there's that. Now, one of the cons of Patreon, like I said, it's a free setup. And they do offer that you can now sell digital products. So someone could buy, I actually have a digital product over on my Patreon shop, but it's very, very niche product, and it has to do with Amazon influencers. And it's a video that I created that walks step by step through using a tool called Logi. And I just put that up there just to see, like, as a testing out the fact that they have this offering of the digital products, seeing if anybody may be interested in it, and seeing if I want to go ahead and build it out and add, more modules to it, or different formats of the content for Amazon influencers. But it's been crickets, to be honest with you. But I'm not really promoting it that much at the same time. So there's that. Now, another thing that Patreon, as well as Buy Me a Coffee, offers, and Martin, you had mentioned it earlier as well with Substack, is that audio feed, that private audio RSS feed. Oh, Martin said that he had to leave for dinner. See you around. Bye, Martin.
Bye, Eileen. Bye, Deborah. Bye, Amy. Thank you very
Enjoy.
much. So great. I will listen to the rest later on. Thanks.
Okay, enjoy your dinner.
Thanks.
And so, having that ability to have the private RSS feed, what's interesting is that for Patreon, now they have the integration with Spotify. And I had forgotten all about that. But what happened was, as I was prepping for today, I went through my emails and I said, oh, let me just search for Patreon and see what announcement they made. Because sometimes I kind of ignore some of the announcements, the rollouts of things. And then I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot they had integration with Spotify. So I don't know if that's depending upon who you are and where you are. You might think that's a good thing, or you might think that's not a great thing. So, also, Patreon has video uploads. Now, this is cool. This is something that I've also wanted. I want the live streams, but I get it. They don't have live streams, but they do have, it's a beta test. I'm in the beta and I don't know when that beta is going to end. I couldn't find that specific email, but I have been able to upload content, video content, right to my Patreon page. Now, everybody doesn't have access to this yet, but as I mentioned earlier, the challenge is getting my patrons to go over there and actually consume it. And I mentioned the digital product too. So one of the things that you can do with any digital products that you put, that could be audio, video, text, um, PDFs and all that, you can offer that as a perk for all your patrons, or maybe only certain patrons, depending upon what tiers you want to offer it. So that's another cool feature that I love, that is kind of flexible. So, all right, let's see. But here's, Patreon cons is what I have this under, is the visibility of your content is limited, and people literally need to use the app or visit the site. And I'll be honest with you, buy me a coffee is the same thing. The
I didn't know that.
visibility of your content is limited in comparison to YouTube. All right, I got to say
Wow.
what I'm comparing it to, right? I'm comparing it to YouTube, and I can honestly say that the folks who I subscribe to on YouTube, it's so easy for me to find and interact with their content because it's just right there. And I'm on YouTube every day. I'm on YouTube multiple times a day. Um, Deborah, if because I'm a co-host, if you're having problems with your audio, you can leave and come back because I'm the co-host. That's one of the benefits, and in fact, that's one of the reasons why we begged them to um, introduce this co-host feature. So it won't crash the space. Just an FYI. Okay, so let's go back to, all right, so now we're going to talk about YouTube. And it's funny because um I've just been sitting on the fence about this YouTube and whether or not I should switch over everything to YouTube. And here is the issue. Here's the issue. YouTube takes 30%. Now, I told you earlier that Patreon takes 8% and or 12%. But because I am an early, I don't know if they call me a founding member or whatever, but I'm on an older plan is the bottom line. And so I don't even pay the 8%. I think it's 6 or something like that for me. And I'm locked in at that rate. And that's a big difference between that and 30% for YouTube. But even preparing for today, and the more and more I think about it, I'm like, wow, YouTube gives me the ability to offer this content to people, and the visibility of it is high. You know, even, YouTube is the number two search engine. Everybody knows that by now, right? So even someone who's searching for something, they could see that, oh, there is members only content available on this topic. And, if it comes up in search. And so I think the only thing that you can't do on YouTube, I'm trying to think. I'm going through in my mind. Oh, a newsletter. You can't technically do a newsletter. You can post in a community tab, and you can kind of format it something like a newsletter. Mm, I'm not sure that I would compare it with a newsletter, but something similar. At least there is the ability to have text content, but and you cannot provide strictly audio content. You can make a video that's, just a static image, but YouTube does not deliver MP3 audio files or M4A. So, okay, sorry for that little interruption. Right, so I'm just going through. Oh, here's another con that I have for YouTube. It doesn't affect me personally, but it may be something that affects you, and something for you to keep as one of your considerations. And that is the eligibility thresholds. Like, you can't just start up a membership on your YouTube channel unless you have met their requirements. And, because YouTube keeps changing them, I hesitate to share what the requirements are right now, because in the last year they've changed it like 3 times. So just know that you need to check to see if you have the right amount of subscribers, and the right amount of watch time on your channel. And if you've been doing YouTube for a while, you may be close, or you may be within range of going for it. So just check that out. I do hear.
Oh, I missed the YouTube part. No, but I can rewind it and go
What?
rewind, that's such an old term. I'm back.
Oh,
Hello.
oh, okay, good.
Can you hear me this
Yeah,
time?
absolutely. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Excellent. And thank you, Miss Ileane, for carrying it. I'm sorry, guys. I was somehow only half here. I could hear everything, but I couldn't speak somehow.
And
Well, I could speak, but
I see that Pearl or Oduyano is here. Hello, hello. Oh,
hello and welcome.
going as quick as they came. So, all right. So, yeah. So, let's just do a quick recap of the YouTube Pros. The YouTube Pros is that it's an integration with your existing YouTube channel, which makes it super easy for you to provide those exclusive content or not, you know, videos, graphics, live streams, text posts, um, and it's user friendly access for your fans as well as you as a creator. So you don't have to, it's okay to have a Discord, but you don't have to. You can just run your all of your membership through YouTube if you wish. Now, the one thing I mentioned, Deb, is that you cannot provide audio only content to your YouTube channel subscribers because YouTube does not distribute audio only content. They'll take your audio and turn it into a video. But if someone wants to use like an audio app, like I use Overcast, or if someone wanted to use one of the other Pocket Casts and things like that, there's no way to do that with your YouTube subscription.
Right.
You know,
Did you mention too that how Google Podcasts is going away, what, by April?
no, I did not mention that, but yeah, go ahead.
Oh. Oh, I was it was just a side note. It's interesting how they're basically replacing. I don't think of it as a replacement because it's kind of a different thing, even though it's the same company, but Google Podcasts is being replaced by YouTube Podcasts, which is interesting because YouTube Podcasts is YouTube videos, but they're called YouTube Podcasts, but it's Google, so they do their thing. I mean, it is cool how they have it set up, but
Yeah, actually, they're trying to encourage people to use the YouTube Music app.
mhm.
The YouTube, but you're right, it's YouTube podcast, but they want you to consume podcasts, and they're even making it easier for you to consume other podcasts on the YouTube Music app.
Right.
And it's kind of um convoluted the way that they're doing it. And
Thank you for saying it. I was I was thinking that, but I'm like, okay, I like it, but I kind of yeah, convoluted is a good word for it.
yeah, and that's and in fact that's why I didn't even talk about it, but I'm glad you brought it up. I'm glad you brought it up. But I did want just really to stress that's one thing. If you are someone who wants to deliver audio content, then you may want to look beyond YouTube as a place for your memberships.
Yeah,
You know,
that's what I do podcasts, but I add YouTube as kind of a side thought as far as the audio. I mean, YouTube I think of for video, but since I have material, and this might be for maybe another topic for another month, but if you have like an Envato subscription, you could just grab stock videos and add them to your audio if they fit.
right? And yeah, there's a few sites that you can use, but I do like your recommendation of Envato. I think Storyblocks was one that a lot of people were talking about. I don't do that. The times that I did put audio up on YouTube, it was just a static image. It was like there was nothing for you to watch. This is for you to understand. This is audio, and I usually would put in the title audio because otherwise it's a whole lot of work.
I didn't even think of that. That's like that is so smart because it takes less time, and I'm sitting here spending whole day putting together.
Put it
Man, you
together.
are so smart.
Because people won't watch it anyway. They know they're not seeing you. That I mean, unless you're doing something that's like a movie, or it's got a story
Oh,
and the whole bit, depending upon the type of content that you provide. But like for our content, our talking head tutorial type content, yeah, trying to put together a video for that is not going to be a party.
Michael and me, we have to make a production out of everything that that's video related.
That's a good thing. You got a video editor that you don't have to pay big bucks to.
It's true. Oh,
Yeah. So yeah, let's do a quick recap. So I started off by talking about, thinking about these memberships and subscriptions from both sides of the coin, from being a subscriber as well as from being someone who wants subscribers. And then I moved into thinking about everything that you should consider before you decide what you're going to offer your subscribers. What's the incentive to get someone to be your subscriber? right? Are you going to give them exclusive content? And if so, what kind of content? And are you going to offer tiers? Are you going to have, like, for somebody who wants to have live streams, it's going to cost more money, or just audio, it's going to be, I'll just say $5 versus $25. You got to think these things through. And if you are going to set up your membership on YouTube, you also need to have a little graphics done, because you need to create little, um, they call them emotes on Twitch, and YouTube literally stole this idea from Twitch, okay? Because they heard the feedback from the Twitch gamers, that, and they're just little emojis that people use when they're on your live chats, and they show up to indicate to anybody who sees it, this person is a channel member. And or there's little icons that change color as your membership grows. Like if you've been there for 3 months, it may be blue, but then once you reach 6 months, then it's green, or whatever. All those things you need to consider: your delivery of content, the consumers or the potential subscribers, what would they want? What format would they want of your content? Not always just what's easiest for you. So, yeah. And so then also, all the different platforms, and we talked about YouTube and Patreon. We touched on Buy Me a Coffee. I also had on my list Uscreen, but we didn't really talk about Uscreen that much, but that was one for you to look into. And also the newsletter thing with Substack. Aweber also has something similar, although it's not as built out as the Substack thing with the audio content, like Martin mentioned. You can use StreamYard on Air and Zoom and Discord also to deliver this content for when you're going to do exclusive content. But you also have to figure out how you're going to promote your subscription program. Jeez, I have that on my list and skipped right over it. So I'm glad I'm doing a recap. You've got your subscription offering. You set up your tiers. You know what everybody's going to get. Now, how are you going to tell people, right?
Is that is that February's content? It's like, now we've got this. Now how do we let everyone know?
Right? Right? We can talk about that later.
Yeah.
And then also merch. Are you going to have merch? Do you need merch? Do your folks want merch? What kind of merch do they want? Oh, there's just so many things to consider. But I don't want that to be a barrier to you getting started, because honestly, like I told you, I have Patreon, and when I started, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I changed my tiers a couple of different times, because I used to have a $1 tier, and I was like, forget that. Too many people signing up for that $1.
Takes you more work just to process it.
Yeah. But on the other hand, maybe something that I would think about doing again, or at least if I decide that I'm going to switch over to YouTube for this delivery of my subscriptions, maybe I will have a $1.99 tier.
Mhm.
So something to think about. Like I said, all these things that you need to consider, but don't spend like too much time, and don't get stuck and you know analysis paralysis. Just make a move, because it's okay. It's not a statue. It can change. It doesn't have to be set in stone. You're not a big time failure if it doesn't work on one platform. You learn, and this is how you get to find out what people really do want. Because sometimes people will tell you they want a certain thing, but when it's time to put up the bucks, hmm, they
Mm.
don't do it, right?
I
So
love what you did on, is it Buy Me a Coffee, where you said that if you reach, I think it's 1,000, then you get a new camera?
I get a camera, yeah, and it's be honest, 2023 wasn't good for me on Buy Me a Coffee. 2022 was great. 2023, if I got $30, I was I'm blessed. Don't get me wrong. I love every dollar. I love every person that donated the dollars. Put it that way.
There we go. That's yeah, that's a good way to put it. But I
Yeah.
love the goal idea. Maybe it's like the not that I go around looking for, on the website as far as GoFundMe, but I like the idea that you put the goal there because it makes you feel like, wow, I'm contributing. I just saw it, like a few minutes before we we came on here, but I mean, it feels like you're contributing to someone's goal and helping them towards something. So I think that's a great idea for people to do that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you that's something you can do is also mix and match some of these offerings. So YouTube doesn't have anything like that, but you can set that up yourself.
Yep.
You can, there's another little app. Actually, the app is from Buy Me a Coffee folks, and it's called the Gift app, giftapp.com, right? GIFTAPP. And I did a video about it, and I actually put these um gifts that I wanted. It's like an Amazon wish list, and it's integrated with your Amazon wish list. And out of the clear blue sky, someone bought me something, and it wasn't a cheap item. It was like $100 item from my gift list from,
Oh,
from
wow.
from gift app.
That's
Yes.
nice.
So you don't that doesn't mean that you have to use Buy Me a Coffee to set up those goals. You could do that same thing with the gift app using Patreon or using YouTube or whatever, any of these other platforms that we've talked about today, including Substack and all of that good stuff.
Well, it's kinda like I looked at what you were doing. I think it was, again, Buy Me a Coffee where I saw that you used, something from AWeber as far as the link page.
Hmm.
I think I was looking there and I thought, "You know what? That reminds me," and I went over to Publer 'cause I use Publer, and they have a link in bio thing that they use to set it that goes beyond our discussion here to explain it, but if anyone's using Publer, they'll see it that well, if you wanna see it in action, and I'm not trying to advertise myself, but it's easier to see it than for me to describe it. If you go to my Instagram, Social Web Cafe, I'm Social Web Cafe everywhere, but if you go to Instagram and you click on the main link there, like where someone would have their website, you'll see my link page. It's similar to Miss Ileane, what you're using as far as AWeber. But you gave me the idea because when I saw what you were doing with AWeber, I thought, hey, I've got something like that, but it's not through AWeber, it's through Public. So I mean, it's like one idea reminds another idea, and which is another idea, but you can use different platforms to do something similar.
That's right. We piece them together
Yep.
because that's a great, wonderful thing about the creator economy and where we are today. We have all these apps vying for our attention and coming up with new ways that they can serve us because they want us to build communities on their platforms because they get their little processing fees.
Oh, exactly, exactly,
So
exactly.
we just have to find the features as well as the platforms that provide that content that is going to, you know, enrich the lives of our subscribers as well as something that's user friendly and that we can feel from our heart that this is helping someone, and it's not making me like pull my hair out to get it done. So we're really, this is a great time for us. That's why it's the creator economy, and why everyone is calling us nano influencers. They got all kinds of names for us, but
All good ones, right? Right?
oh,
It's positive.
absolutely. And and we're here to provide great content for folks and guidance.
Exactly, exactly. That's what it's about. It's about the people. It's about
Yep.
helping people. Well, that's what gets me jazzed every morning is to be able to help people.
Yep, and you do such a great job of it.
Ah, thank you, and
Yeah.
thank you, Miss Eileen.
Yeah. And so we have to look ahead to next month. Oh, let's look at the date. I got the calendar right here. Oh, it won't be Groundhog Day. It'll be day after. February the 3rd.
Wow.
All
I still can't believe it's 2024, but do you have a topic in mind?
Oh no, not right now.
Okay, I was gonna say, I was gonna ask about communities. That seems to be a buzzword I'm hearing from everyone. But that might be a topic for like 3 months, different aspects of communities. But you know what? We can come back with the topic. Just watch for our little post. I think people are recognizing the graphic.
Yeah, I love the graphic and the way you changed it and put your picture on there this time. That was amazing. Thank you so much. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate you. And
Thank
thanks
you.
for being a host and for inviting me as a co-host.
And thank you so much for holding down the fort there while I disappeared. I wasn't even sure that worked. So, guys, if you're wondering if I abandoned you all, I was messaging Miss Ileane and saying, "What happens if I disappeared?" Is it? And she was that's where she said that
And
she could hold it.
I literally had my notes spread out across my keyboard. So I couldn't even get to my keyboard because I had my notes. So
Well,
that's
I learned something about
that's
Twitter Space.
why I just responded to you verbally and said, "Hey, if you can leave and come back if you have to." So,
Hey,
yeah,
that works. And anyone listening, they learned, not only about this topic and monetization options for content creators, but they also learned some tidbits about Twitter Spaces, or X Spaces. Excuse me.
yeah. No, we'll still call it Twitter. I'm
There we
fine.
go. Oh, good. Oh, good. Well, thank you all for tuning in to our Social Cafe bonus. And thank you especially to Miss Ileane for mentoring us and teaching us and all the tips and all her love for us in giving of herself. So, and we'll, hmm?
My pleasure.
All right. And we hope to see you. I was going to say same time next week, but at same time, we're basically the same time next month.
Well, in 4 weeks.
4 weeks. There we go. Exactly. All right. Y'all have a good one.
Okay. Bye bye.